Good evening and welcome to Election Radar, our on-the-road coverage of this great pageant of Indian democracy, the elections in Uttar Pradesh. Now we have travelled across Western UP, Phase 1, Phase 2, and we've been repeating our journey details quite often, so you can see it on the screen. From Western UP, slowly we are moving eastwards as elections are moving eastwards. Tonight, we get you reports from Kanpur, the big central hub. People in Kanpur remember it as the Manchester of the East, a very famous saying in the 80s and the 90s, that we are the Manchester of the East. They now say it, remembering the past, not as a reference to what Kanpur will become in the future. Why? Because the industries are dying a slow death. The government claims that it's doing a lot for the, in fact, the industries minister of the UP government is from Kanpur, Mr. Satish Mahana. But while we focus on the needs of this industrial town of Kanpur, we want to do it with the prism or the lens of the youth. What do the youth of Kanpur think is the big issue this election? What do the youth entrepreneurs of Kanpur think is the big election issue? So on this show tonight, we get you a presentation from three important hubs of Kanpur. One, the tannery industry, the tanneries of Kanpur, many of them headed by young entrepreneurs. What do they have to say? Number two, a talk with the youth of Kanpur, the first-time voters. What according to them is the real issue? And number three, the very famous and old, built in 1876, the Lal Imli mill. What do the sons of the employees, former employees of that mill have to say about the future of the city? The city has a lot to offer, lots of potential. But is the industry in that city dying a slow death? Let's take a look at these reports. For its sheer size was the tanneries. The Kanpur tanneries, famous across the globe for the leather that is produced right here. But over the years, maybe because of pollution concerns, because these tanneries used to leave a trail of polluted water into the Ganges river, and also a number of other factors, these tanneries now wear a very, very deserted look. These big drums that you see right behind me have now stopped churning, have stopped moving. There is a rostering process that has begun, which means that the tanneries cannot produce or cannot even operate unless they follow a roster. Many of the tannery owners here are now saying, how does Kanpur compete with the rest of the world, with China, even Bangladesh, where most of these orders are now going, when you end up rostering the manufacturing process in the industry? Let's try and find out from the tannery owners what is their pain point and what is their expectation.
पहले ईस्ट का मैनचेस्टर कहा जाता था कानपुर को, बट प्रॉब्लम जो थी वो बहुत सिवियर होती गई इन टर्म्स ऑफ लेदर इंडस्ट्री. कंटिन्यूसली 2 इयर्स के लिए शट रही और अभी भी इसको 15 डेज़ की रोस्टर की परमिशन दी गई है. इसका असर इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में इस तरह से पड़ा कि एक पैनिक का क्रिएट हुआ, एक डर का वातावरण माहौल बाहर क्रिएट हुआ
कि ऑर्डर पूरे नहीं कर पाएंगे.
एग्जैक्टली ऑर्डर नहीं कर पाएंगे. एक फेयर है, बहुत अनसर्टेन टाइम चल रहा है कि ये अपना जो डिलीवरीज हैं वो मीट आउट हो पाएगी नहीं.
रोस्टरिंग का मतलब ये हुआ कि जहां महीने भर तक मिल चल सकती है वहां 15 ही दिन चलेगी.
जी बिल्कुल. 15 दिन चलेगी और प्लस जो कैपेसिटी आपकी है, सपोज दैट आपकी हमारी टैनरी की 4 ड्रम की कैपेसिटी है तो उसको 2 ड्रम पे ले आया गया.
सबसे बड़ा सवाल पूछना चाहता हूँ, कारण क्या दिया गया है इसके लिए?
इसका कारण सबसे बड़ा जो है वो पॉल्यूशन दिया गया, बट
वो तो सही कारण है ना,
बिल्कुल
पोल्यूशन तो होता है।
संकेत जी, मैं बताना चाहूँगा कि हम लोग और लेदर इंडस्ट्री, लेदर एसोसिएशन वाले, हम लोग पर्यावरण के खिलाफ नहीं हैं। आप देखें हमारे ऑडिट्स होते हैं रेगुलर, बट किसी भी प्रॉब्लम का एक रास्ता होता है, सोल्यूशन होता है, देयर हैज़ टू बी अ वे आउट। किसी भी प्रॉब्लम का सोल्यूशन ये नहीं है कि आप उस इंडस्ट्री को बंद कर दें। संकेत जी, मैं आपको बताना चाहूँगा पूरे यूपी में मेरे ख्याल से सबसे ज़्यादा एम्प्लॉयमेंट, सोर्स ऑफ एम्प्लॉयमेंट देने वाली एक ये लेदर इंडस्ट्री है कानपुर की। और मेरे ख्याल से आज की डेट में एक जो ज़मीनी मुद्दा है यूपी का, जो सबसे अहम है, वो है रोज़गार। वो है रोज़गार। अब एक छोटा सा सवाल मैं आपसे ये करना चाहता हूँ कि जो दिहाड़ी मजदूर हैं, डेली वेजेस वाले, सपोज दैट अगर हम 15 दिन चला रहे हैं और 15 दिन काम बंद कर रहे हैं, तो उनका खर्चा कैसे चलता होगा, उनका घर कैसे चलेगा? अल्टीमेटली हमारा मोटो क्या होना चाहिए? हमारा मोटो है रोजगार, हमारी इकोनॉमी। ये इंडस्ट्री विदेशी मुद्रा का सोर्स है। इस इंडस्ट्री को बजट में कोई हेल्प नहीं मिली, गवर्नमेंट इंसेंटिव्स घट गए, हमें कोई भी रिम्बर्समेंट नहीं मिला, हमें कोई भी टैक्सेशन में रिलीफ नहीं मिला, कोई भी स्पेशल पैकेज लेदर इंडस्ट्री के लिए अनाउंस नहीं हुआ। तो नई इंडस्ट्री लगाने की तो बात ही आप खत्म कर दीजिए। जो हमारे पास एक्चुअल है हम उसी को रिटेन कर लें, दैट्स अ बिग डील फॉर अस नाउ।
आपका शुभ नाम और आप कैसे जुड़े हैं इस उद्योग से?
मेरा नाम मोहम्मद अर्शी है और मेरी भी एक टैनरी है, टैनरी ऑनर हूँ और मैं एसोसिएशन का वाइस प्रेसिडेंट भी हूँ।
अच्छा जी। तो मैं आपसे ये जानना चाहता हूँ कि देखिए, जैसे अभी उसामा जी बता रहे थे कि जो सबसे बड़ा चुनौती और कंसर्न है, इसकी वजह से ये सब हो रहा है, रोस्टरिंग हो रही है और प्रोडक्शन कम किया गया है, वो है प्रदूषण। तो प्रदूषण तो एक बड़ी दिक्कत है ही, गंगा नदी जो है वो प्रदूषित हो रही है। ऐसे में इसका क्या विकल्प है? वो कह रहे हैं कि कुछ विकल्प ढूंढिए, बंद ना कीजिए। तो विकल्प क्या है?
सर, विकल्प ये है कि भ्रष्टाचार पे अगर सरकार ध्यान दे, जैसे कि जो प्रदूषण का जो बताया जाते, जो वजह बताई जाती है जिसके लिए हमको पनिश किया जाता है इंडस्ट्री, एक्चुअली वो वजह है नहीं। देखिए, प्रदूषण का मामला ये है कि हमारे पे बहुत सारे एलिगेशन लगते हैं। सारी इंडस्ट्री में पीटीपी लगा हुआ है, प्राइमरी इफ्लुएंट ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट, जो हमारा इफ्लुएंट डिस्चार्ज होता है, पहले हम अपनी
मतलब जो पानी जो है, प्रदूषित पानी जो डिस्चार्ज हो रहा है, उसको ट्रीट करके ताकि वो
जी पहले हम अपनी इंडस्ट्री में उसको ट्रीट करते हैं, सारा स्लज, सारा कचरा हम रोक लेते हैं और उस कचरे को उठा करके रैमकी है यहाँ पे जो डिस्पोज ऑफ करती है, वो हम उसको देते हैं। उसके बाद जो हमारा पानी डिस्चार्ज होता है वो कन्वे चैनल के माध्यम से जो है कॉमन इफ्लुएंट ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट पे हमारा सारा इफ्लुएंट जाता है और उसको जो है जल निगम जो है, गवर्नमेंट वो है, वो उसको जो है चलाती है। उसका रिकरिंग चार्ज, जितना भी जो मेंटेनेंस चार्ज आता है, वो सारी इंडस्ट्री मंथली पे करती है। अब वहाँ पे जो सरकारी संस्था है वो अपने कार्य का सही से निर्वहन नहीं करती है, तो उसकी सजा इंडस्ट्री को क्यों दी जाती है? हमारा इंडस्ट्री का पानी
नहीं, जैसे कितना बड़ा वो ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट है, कहीं अगर आप ज्यादा डिस्चार्ज कर रहे हो प्रदूषित पानी, और अगर वो ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट उसको ना पूरी तरीके से पूरा कर पाए, तो इस वजह से हो सकता है नियंत्रण होना हो। तो मैं आपसे ये जानना चाहता हूँ कि कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं है कि ओवर प्रोडक्शन हो रहा है या ओवर डिस्चार्ज हो रहा है?
नहीं सर, ऐसा है कि सर आप ये समझिए कि जब वो प्लांट बना उस वक्त इंडस्ट्री जो है 400 थी, 400 टैनरियाँ थी। आज जो है 270 ही सिर्फ रन कर रही है।
अच्छा, मतलब टैनरी कम हो गई,
टैनरी 130 कम हो,
और उनमें भी कैपेसिटी कम हो गई है, ये बता रहे थे।
पहले तो 130 इंडस्ट्री कम हो गई, उसके बाद बची 260 टैनरी इंडस्ट्री है।
मतलब आप पोल्यूशन कम कर रहे हैं,
ऑटोमेटिकली कम हो गया। मेन इशू क्या है? जो डोमेस्टिक पानी है, यहाँ पे कोई एसटीपी नहीं है। जो डोमेस्टिक पानी,
सीवेज ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट,
सीवेज ट्रीटमेंट, जी सीवेज ट्रीटमेंट जो डिस्चार्ज हो रहा है, वो कहीं ना कहीं पहले गंगा में जाता था। अब वो प्रदूषण के नाम पे रोका गया, बहुत अच्छी बात है, वो बहुत अच्छा कदम है। लेकिन उसको रोकने से पहले शहर के अंदर नया एसटीपी बनाना चाहिए था। वो नहीं हुआ, पानी रोक दिया गया, उसको कहीं ना कहीं जल निगम ने उसको सारा डाइवर्ट कर दिया उस प्लांट पे।
यानी कि जो सीवेज ट्रीटमेंट प्लांट आपके इंडस्ट्रीज के लिए था,
उसमें
उसको डोमेस्टिक वेस्ट के लिए
ऐड कर दिया। उसको ये जो है डिपार्टमेंट एक्सेप्ट नहीं करता है।
आप सब लोगों का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, और उम्मीद करते हैं कि सरकारें ये बात सुने, जिसकी भी बने वो ये बात सुने और रोजगार का आप माध्यम बने बाकी लोगों के लिए। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। बहुत So what do the young in Kanpur have to say? Well, to speak to the young, you have to do something that is quite young, because if you speak to the 40, 50, 60-year-olds, they'll say, oh no, nothing sweet, diabetes, you know. But the young don't have such issues. So that's why we've come to one of the oldest softie shops right here that have been serving softie and ice cream. It's called Pinne's Temptation since 1960. It's a 62-year-old setup right here in the heart of Kanpur, and look at this, it's fantastic. This had our video journalist Sachin Gupta tripping. Life is like ice cream, enjoy it before it melts. So is this the philosophy of the young and restless of Kanpur? It's election season. Yeah. I'm assuming all of you are 18 plus, eligible voters. First time voters?
Not the first time, but we both are first time voters.
You are first time voters, okay.
First time for the MLA elections.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
First time for the MLA election.
Same with you? What about you? Same. Okay, so everyone is going to vote for the first time in this Vidhan Sabha election. This is very, very significant. Let me start by asking you, what according to you are the issues? What will be the basis on which you will press the button?
Well, if you consider my opinion, I think the main issue would be the last year second wave of COVID. We all know what happened during those days. Like many of my close friends and family, they were all fighting for just a single bed in Uttar Pradesh. Not only in Uttar Pradesh, in the whole India. But we know what happened in Uttar Pradesh because people were literally fighting for their life just to get one single bed in the hospital. And they have to pay like lakhs of rupees just to get a single bed. So I think the health infrastructure which Mr. Yogi was putting forward to us was not at all good. So I think my main issue for which I'll be voting for in this election would be the second wave of COVID.
What about you? What according to you is the big issue? And if I were you, I wouldn't leave that softie. I would start eating.
Yeah. So staying in Kanpur for last 2 years after college, I realized that in the other state that I was staying at, women's safety was dealt with.
What state was that?
Goa.
Oh, wow.
I was in Goa
This is
for,
also going to polls.
yeah. So I was in Goa for 4 years earlier to this, and I did not face any women's safety concerns over there, even if I was traveling at night. Even at 3 a.m. if my flight landed, I did not see a concern. But here I get scared. There have been incidences when I have called the police helpline at night when I faced some issues, when some people started following me. So women's safety is a very big concern. The response time is really slow, the turnaround time is slow, the time that you will get a call back, it takes a very long time. And then even when the police shows up, they are really like drowsy. It clearly shows they are not alert. They want to just, shush you up and send you back.
Okay. Now to a boy chomping off his ice cream. What according to you is the key issue?
I think the main area that has been neglected in UP for the past 5 years is education. I think the government has not done enough to, in that sector, because we saw during the COVID time the schools were shut, and even then the most education was online. But private schools provided their students with facilities, but I don't think government school did that. So, and even as a student, after class 12, I have to go outside UP. There are not many opportunities present here.
Let me ask you something. Is there anything you like about this regime? Anything that you feel they did right, which was good?
In my personal opinion, I don't think so. It is like I don't like the things that are happening around me.
Like what?
Every time there is an election, one topic that is there always is religion, Hindu Muslim.
Well said.
And I don't like it because I think the youth, they don't care if someone is Jat or if someone is any Muslim or low caste or anything. They just want development, they want equality in the people, and I don't think so this government has done that equality thing. I don't think so it's there. And I also feel ki they are making the Ram Mandir for say. They should, like, they are collecting itne sare funds and all that stuff, but they should do all that for the education, for the for that health sector and all other like infrastructure and all that. ये सब जो पैसा मंदिर में उन्होंने लगाया वो सब अगर उसमें लगाएंगे तो शायद बेटर हो.
So you're saying that there should be priority on schools, hospitals,
Yeah.
along with the temple or away from the temple?
Temple should be given a less,
Less priority.
priority than these things.
What about you? What is your poll issue?
I think my core issue would be the polarization of the country, not in the sense that what we usually talk about in the sense of Muslim and Hindu, but anything for that matter. So I think the country has become very divided. Either you are with me or you are against me. They don't realize that there is a middle ground. That there can be issues where I agree with you, there can be issues where I do not agree with you. And I think we are very, so there is a lot of left-wing extremism, right-wing extremism, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, everything. I think we are all straying away from the topics that are actually important when it comes to elections. We need to concentrate more on issues that are like development, education, healthcare sector, employment. I mean, recently we've seen the highest unemployment rate in the country because of COVID. If in the second wave, like he rightly pointed out, we've all experienced loss. I don't think anybody in this country has not experienced loss. Everybody has gone through. Were people able to get beds? And then all of these politicians, they claim that we did this, we did that, but truly they do nothing. And none of them are talking on the right points if we see. It's always religion. It's always Ram Mandir. It's always hijab. I mean, I don't get it. These are not points to be talked about when it comes to elections. People need to start talking more about development. Whether people are getting jobs, whether there's a good education in this country, especially in UP. I mean, we are so far back. Such a huge state, such a huge demographic, such huge diversity, we've had 4 or 5 prime ministers from Allahabad, Kanpur and all of these places. They've all studied in Kanpur University, and what is it now? Nobody wants to stay here and literally study. Nobody wants to be in Kanpur. And in 5 years if the government is claiming that we've done something, I don't truly agree to that. I have been, so I left in 2016 for Maharashtra to do my law. In the 5 years that I've been here and that I've visited, I have not seen a single bit of improvement. They say that we have done good on law and order. I mean, I don't think it is right. I mean, I know it's a little controversial to talk about it, but when Vikas Dubey was killed, so there were 2 conflicting opinions, that either somebody killed him and that's okay, and I don't know how that is constitutional or how it is right in the eyes of the law.
You're talking about the encounter.
Yeah, I mean, encounters, how is it right in the eyes of the law? If a criminal can be killed, so can you. Once you give the police the right to do anything that they want, they will do anything that they want. How can you
That's
just
a
not?
very, very interesting point. So
Why
in
are
order
you
to
talking about it?
in order to fix law and order, you feel that the administration has short-circuited the processes,
Exactly.
and then it'll come back to haunt the people.
Exactly. Once you
That's a
give
very
them the
important
power,
point.
once you give them the power to do anything that they want, I mean, एक बार आपने वो दहलीज क्रॉस कर ली, like they say, it's crossed, you can't come back.
But see, the Dehlis was crossed in the past also. It's not like UP has not seen fake
I have not
encounters
seen-
in the past.
But none of the government ever claimed, na? Did the government previously claim that हम encounter कर देंगे? Was the government involved, or was it appreciated?
Now for the tough question towards the very end. Let's talk about personalities. Akhilesh Yadav, Mayawati, Priyanka Gandhi and Yogi Adityanath. Of these 4, what is your pecking order?
If we go directly to the personality,
Huh.
I think Priyanka Gandhi has the most.
What about you?
Priyanka Gandhi.
Who's more relatable?
Priyanka Gandhi, because I really like some social causes related to stray animals. So there have been incidences where I wanted to report some things. She works a lot on that front as well for stray animals, and whenever I faced problems, everyone directed me to tweeting to her or somehow writing out to her, and it has worked. So that is one path where I relate to her, and she looks after these things. So that is one thing. The other thing is I would go with Yogi also on this because earlier there was no support in those. We talked about the ungodly hours, but in the non-ungodly hours also there was no support earlier, but now it is there.
You mean in terms of policing?
Yes.
Okay.
So there
So
has
on the
been an
policing front, you have said that there has been an improvement in this last regime, and that's why Mr. Yogi Adityanath finds himself
There has
in
been
a
great
comfortable.
improvement in policing in the last 1 year.
Yes. there has
So you also support him on that front, policing.
Like since when Kanpur became the commissionerate,
Yeah.
they have been very,
That's
great
true. That's
improvement.
true. Actually true. Anyway, thank you so much. This was such a lovely conversation. I have learnt a lot from what you have said. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you. So we are broadcasting live from outside the Big Ben. This is Westminster. Just kidding. That's not true. This is Kanpur. This is of course Lal Imli. And you can see that this is a legacy of the British. It's a magnificent structure. This was actually a mill, a cloth mill. They used to manufacture textiles over here. It's still called the British India Corporation Limited, or the BICL. It's a Government of India company. It's a PSU. The government took over this company, which was formed in 1876. It took over in the year 1981, and since 1989 this company has not been making profits, and since the year 2005 it has not been making clothes also. Till last count they had 1800 employees, but now because the mill is closed, and I have had the fortune when this mill was open to have gone inside it. It still has those machines imported from Manchester, and they read made in England. So that's how ancient this building is. But there are some people who, in fact, after all these years, are still trying to keep that legacy of Lal Imli cloth alive, the Lal Imli material alive. आप इस मिल में थे, आप बता रहे थे आपके पिताजी भी इसी मिल में थे?
जी, मेरे पिताजी इसी मिल में थे।
हाँ।
जी।
अच्छा, ये बताइए लाल इमली का भी कुछ सामान है क्या?
नहीं, लाल इमली का तो कोई सामान नहीं। जैसे कपड़ा वपड़ा कभी कोई मर्चेंट के पास मिल जाता तो वो बेचते नहीं, तो अदर कंपनी का माल है।
मतलब बाहर की और दूसरी कंपनियों का है? कुछ एक आधा लाल इमली या धारीवाल में देखता हूँ यहाँ लिखा हुआ।
नहीं नहीं जी, देखते हैं लेकिन लाल इमली का है नहीं सर। कपड़ा है अंगोला, वो भी डिफेंस का।
दिखाइए कौन सा। तो जो पुराना, आपको ये भी बता दें कि लाल इमली में जो फौज थी या पुलिस थी, मिलिट्री थी, उनके भी कपड़े बनते थे। तो ये कह रहे हैं कि अब इस मिल से तो कुछ है नहीं, तो किसी के पास कुछ पुराना पड़ा रह गया।
जो एजेंट यहाँ के थे जी,
हाँ।
जिनके पास यहाँ की डीलरशिप थी, वो उनके पास मिल जाता सर, वही बेचते जी।
वो आखिरी कुछ अब ये बचे हुए हैं, कलेक्टर्स आइटम समझ लीजिए, कुछ इस तरीके का। जैसा कि आप ये देख रहे हैं, तो पहले लाल इमली का जो कपड़ा आता था उसका लोगो ये होता था, लाल इमली, और इस तरीके से लिखा हुआ, और ये बहुत बड़ा ब्रांड माना जाता था। मतलब आप ये समझिए, शादी ब्याह में लोग एक दूसरे को लाल इमली की शॉल दिया करते थे कि ये लीजिए लाल इमली। और इसके अलावा एक और ब्रांड था ये धारीवाल। लेकिन अब धारीवाल और लाल इमली की स्थिति कुछ ऐसी है कि कुछ एक आधा मीटर बचा है जिसको आप बेचने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। लेकिन मिल के लिए मोहब्बत कुछ ऐसी है कि वो मिल जो कि एकदम बंद हो गई है, नौकरी नहीं है लोगों के पास, तनख्वाहें नहीं मिली हैं, उसी मिल के बाहर ये कपड़ा बेचा जा रहा है।
42 महीने में 9 महीने की एडवांस मिली है, और उसके बाद फिर नील है। अभी यहाँ धरना हुआ था, पहले पेमेंट, फिर बाद में देंगे वोट। ये हुआ, उसके बाद फिर
पहले पेमेंट फिर वोट।
आप हमको वोट पेमेंट नहीं दोगे, हम आपको वोट नहीं देंगे।
ये किसके लिए बोला आपने?
भाई हमने नहीं, पब्लिक यहाँ की बोल रही है, यहाँ के वर्कर्स बोल रहे हैं जी।
चलिए, थोड़ा बहुत इतिहास है जो आपके पास है,
ये रखे हुए
आप बचाए हुए हैं।
जब तक जिंदा रहेंगे जिंदा रहेगी, ये समझ लीजिए। जब तक हम जिंदा रहेंगे जिंदा रहेगी, और जब चली जाएगी तो वो चली जाएगी, समझ लीजिए जी।